Hi, Zalna here, and welcome back to my vlog where I talk about how you can raise your issue in the legislative and policy making process. This is part 4 in a series on expropriation without compensation. The series looks at the process and highlights some of the issues happening at Parliament. This is part 4 in the series. Parts 1 to 3 is available on my YouTube channel. I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone for commenting on the videos and responding as well, raising their concerns. Clearly, expropriation without compensation hit a raw nerve, especially as we are a nation that is still healing, trying to come to terms with the horror and atrocities of a past regime, a past apartheid government. The sentiments that I pick up is that land is linked to race and identity. This makes sense because in 1913, I think about 87% of the land went to 13% of South Africa's population, which was white, and 13% of the land was given to 87% of the population, which was black. The question that I think also comes through is, how is land reform going to take place? What does expropriation without compensation mean? The President has been clear that expropriation without compensation does not mean land grabs. Nobody's property is going to be arbitrarily taken from them. Many people also commented that they bought land from banks with loans. And how will expropriation without compensation work where property is mortgaged? Another comment summed it up very nicely, and I'm reading this, that the issue of land is a very sensitive issue. And if we are going to be talking about land reform indefinitely, nothing is going to happen, and we're not going to go anywhere. As a nation, we must be reconciled and united in bringing about transformation on such a paramount issue. This is a time to be united and put aside our differences in color and find ways for all of South Africans to share equally. I identified 3 themes from the comments to my videos. The first theme was around the public participation process. Second were concerns. And lastly, the question again was, how was land reform going to take place? I've spoken to a few stakeholders at Parliament as I wanted to respond as best as I can. On the public participation process, someone commented that the public hearings took place during working hours, which prevented many people from participating in the process as it was during working hours. This is an important point as Parliament has a constitutional obligation to encourage the public to participate in and become involved in its processes. Committees at Parliament has had public hearings over weekends to accommodate as many stakeholders as possible. The process is ongoing, and therefore if there is a bill amending the Constitution, there will be further public hearings. Committees at Parliament has had public hearings over weekends to accommodate as many stakeholders as possible. The process is ongoing, and if there is a bill amending the Constitution, there will be further public hearings, and it's definitely an issue I will take up with the stakeholders at Parliament. Another person commented that the process of public hearings is a farce, and that the outcome has already been decided before public hearings even took place. This is a very important point. Is Parliament going to listen to the people? What exactly are the people's view? After all, Parliament is the voice of the people. My view is that yes, Parliament is going to take into account and consider all the views that they receive. I've seen many bills rigorously amended and some even sent back to ministers after public hearings, and some bills, the scope and its mandates has even been changed by Parliament. So yes, I would say Parliament is going to take into account the submissions and comments very carefully. Just to mention an example of a proposed legislative measure is the sugar levy. The Minister of Finance announced in 2016 that he was going to introduce a sugar levy of 20% on all sugar-sweetened beverages. Stakeholders like the Sugar Association and Coca-Cola lobbied very well. The sugar levy was eventually reduced to almost half. Pure fruit juices was exempted, and the measure is going to be reviewed every year to see if the tax or the levy is actually reducing the consumption in sugar-sweetened beverages. My point is that even though the ruling party may have resolved to amend the Constitution to make provision for expropriation without compensation, the measure will be tested at Parliament. The key is how you lobby your issue. Many other comments raised concerns that food security will be threatened. The President has on several occasions made it clear and emphasized that expropriation without compensation will be done in a manner that doesn't impede food security or harm the economy. Another person suggested that government conduct a land audit to see what land is being used and what land is not being used. I think that is a very good point, and that we should even go further to look at who owns the land, how much of the land do they own, what is it being used for, are they willing to sell, are they willing to donate? At least then government can start the process of seeing how they can negotiate in terms of land reform and conducting a land audit. So where are we now in the process? The Constitutional Review Committee has had several public hearings. They've even invited stakeholders now to present their submissions. They've met on 2 occasions to look at the report that will look at the submissions and then decide what the recommendations to Parliament will be. I have heard speculations that they are going to have further hearings, but that has not been confirmed. For further information, or if you wish to leave me a message or contact me, please visit my website at www.selnajansenconsultancy.co.za.